not chakras? What are their clinical implications in yoga therapy or psychology?
Sir,
Namaste, namaste.
so
Good morning.
what I have read or what I understand, these are hypothetical energy centers in our body.
Hmm.
These don't have physical existence, and each center has its own significance and what we can say uh, energy specificity and different implication or what it signifies.
Shashi sir, he is a pediatrician and he has shared that chakras are, energy related aspects. They are not having any anatomical correlates, anatomical structure in the body. If you dissect, you are not going to find any chakras. That is very true. And he says that they are actually energy centers, power centers, which are used in explaining different physiological processes in yoga therapy. Anybody else? Any other views?
Uh, Good morning, sir. This is Surya. Sir, I know that every chakra is associated with some color, and also that any physical ailments that we get with our body. So
Mm,
one chakra if is associated with that emotion. So,
mm,
so for example, if a person is very egoistical,
mm,
then that chakra which is near the chest, I forgot the name, that gets activated.
mm,
Then if you have some nervous tension and problem, then like people cannot express or speak, so it's near the throat.
mm,
So I'm forgetting the names,
mm,
but it's every physical ailment that we have in our body is associated with that chakra. So
mm,
sometimes there is, I don't know where you get this done, but you can also do the aura cleansing. There is some certain tests. I don't know that machine name or where you get it done, maybe in very big hospitals.
mm,
But some doctors use the chakras, the aura cleansing. So the more purple the color or whitish it is, means you're more healthy. And depending on which color is more prominent, the doctor is able to understand where the physical ailment is in your body where you're suffering from. So this one of my Reiki teachers had told us that y'all it's a very expensive test, but those who are really suffering from some very physical major illness, please go get it done, because she used to do these readings. So, and she had also told us that the Mooladhara chakra, like you have to slowly activate the chakras. It cannot happen overnight, but it's due to practice. So you begin from the root, and then you go up, up, up to the seventh chakra, which lies at the forehead. At the so that's what I know about it, sir. But it's related to physical ailments,
yes.
and there are ways to cure it. Thank you, sir.
Surya, very good points, especially connecting emotions to different chakras. It is a very, very beautiful point and is used extensively in yoga therapy. The one thing that we need to understand here, is yoga is all about accelerating your evolution by using your own body, your own breath, your own mind. Anything exogenous where somebody else does something for me is not a part of yoga. Nowhere in the yoga text you see a mention of Reiki or such kind of techniques. Uh, Yoga is all about empowering you. You do not depend on anybody for your growth, your acceleration, and your evolution. So even if it is, transcending the dualities of life and rising higher in life, you know, uh, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you keep on evolving more and more. You know, you evolve from one level of life to another level and ask deeper and deeper questions. You rise in your consciousness. That is how, you evolve from one chakra to another in life, but you do not depend on others. So when it comes to these kind of aspects, no Reiki and empowering, giving everything to other, that other will solve my problem, I don't go well with that. For me, if anything that makes you dependent on themselves, then that is probably not yoga therapy. That it may be something else, but we cannot call it as a something coming under the science of yoga. Patanjali, when he says that it is for you to evolve, it is for you to practice. Beautiful. Raghunath ji, what do you want to share?
Sir, what I understood about yoga as it is more on my physical, emotional, and my spiritual activities in my body. So
Yeah,
that way it is giving me that impact on me, and that in way work on the chakras also on my life, on my body.
beautiful, beautiful, Raghunath ji. So Raghunath ji, she's sharing his own experience. He feels emotionally more balanced. He feels physically more balanced. No, mentally more balanced. It means you are transcending. You are transcending and going beyond dualities. Fine. Srinath ji, what do you want to share?
There are seven major chakras and there are many minor chakras. So any problem or any health issue basically manifests firstly in the chakras. It imbalances chakras, then it manifests into the physical body.
Beautiful.
So these chakras are also present in the etheric body, and things like Kirlian photography and all that, wherein the photographs and imbalance, or a clairvoyant can see where are the imbalance in the chakra, and they try to balance through meditation and other practices.
Yes, there are some devices like that. The gas discharge visualization device. People call it biowell. No, still, there more studies are required to establish their validity. They are measuring something, and there are anecdotal evidences where they are actually able to pick up what is there. But then there are other studies also which are showing that they are not as sensitive. Means probably it is sensitive, but it is not very specific. Definitely as you go to the subtler aspects, then the cause and effect and the straight pinpoint causation becomes very difficult, and that's why it is much more complex, and the interpretation also of such findings is very, very complex. Let me all share with you my understanding of this concept. As Srinathji very beautifully said, that yoga text clearly recognize three levels of existence, three kind of shariras. Sthula Sharira, which is the gross physical body, which all of us can see. Even what you can see under a MRI scanner or what you can see under an electron microscope also is gross or Sthula Sharira. Then comes the Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira is more expanded and more subtle version of yourself. It is something which is like an electromagnetic field, which is there within and around the body. That science also recognizes that there is an EMF. Every body radiates certain kind of energy which cannot be perceived by the gross eye. But what yoga adds into this is, yoga says that this electromagnetic field around you is affected by your thoughts, is affected by your emotions. And a particular kind of emotion is also an energy. It is known as energy in motion. So these core emotions that form the core of the personality of the individual are still more subtle, and they are known as the causal body. So core emotions, then the electromagnetic field, and then the physical body. So that has been called as the Karana Sharira, where you have your Vijnanamaya Kosha, then you and certain aspect of Manomaya Kosha are there in Karana Sharira. In Sukshma Sharira, you have the Pranamaya Kosh, and then the Sthula Sharira has the Annamaya Kosh. These chakras, they do not lie in the Annamaya Kosha. They lie in the Pranamaya Kosha. So they are in the middle, the Sukshma Sharira. According to yoga philosophy, they lie in the Sukshma Sharira. Therefore, when you dissect the body, you will not find, these kind of chakras. But yeah, there have been some correlates where people say that at all these junctions of the body, there are important either endocrine glands are there or nerve plexuses are there. And that is why they say that there is some kind of a correlation of these energy centers to the functioning or the physiology of the body. Now, Yoga Chudamani, describes in detail these chakras and provides different kind of color, and it also says that this chakra has a different number of petals, and they increase from 4 to 6 to 10 to 12 to 16. And then finally at the Ajna chakra there are two petals where the two dualities of life, heat and cold, sun and moon, meet, and one has to transcend that duality. And then the Sahasrara has the 1,000 petals because it is multidimensional in its functioning. Now the text further goes in detail, but what is striking here is that these chakras also connect to the basic elements of nature. For example, the Mooladhara carries the earth element, and there are certain practices to activate these chakras. For example, there is butterfly or Moola Bandha, they are the practices used, and there is a sound vibration also to activate this chakra. The sound for this chakra is Lam. Then we all know that, if you see the force of gravity, the gravity has maximum effect on earth. Therefore the earth goes down, and just below the earth, just above the earth, you see the element which is slightly grosser than the earth, slightly subtler than the earth, is water. So the next chakra is represented by the water element, and it has 6 petals, and there are other different mudras to activate this particular chakra, or performing Kapalabhati also activates. This particular chakra is denoted or resonates by the sound Vam. And if you look at the physiology of the body, you know that the downmost part when a person stands is the rectum, where the feces are there. And feces represent whatever you eat. Whatever you eat comes from earth, and whatever you remove also goes to earth. So the feces, the rectum, that particular area is the earth element. And just above the rectum, you have the urinary bladder. Now, bladder is the storehouse of the water. The whole of the water that is filtered in the body actually accumulates in the bladder. And that is here, there is a location of this Swadhisthana chakra. We all know there can be, and all the sexual organs, prostate, and all these organs, ovaries, your testes, all those also are connected to these two chakras only. They are connected to Mooladhara and Swadhisthana, mainly to Mooladhara. So the physiological functions of the body, which involve defecation, urination, menstruation, micturition, masturbation, all those kind of activities, ejaculation, are governed by these two chakras. Because whatever these chakras, when they get activated, whatever that comes out is either earth or water element. If, the subtle energy flow to this particular part of the body is not proper, one experiences blockage in the Apana Vayu. And then it manifests as irregularity in your menses, constipation, either premature ejaculation or delayed ejaculation. In fact, Ayurveda supports this kind of view, where Ayurveda says that there are practices like giving enema, medicated oil enemas, to actually balance these chakras, or to open the Vayu or the prana that flows into the chakra. In the same way, if you go little more up, the Manipura is at the navel region, and this is connected to fire. And clearly in all traditional schools of philosophies, the digestive element has been correlated to fire. It is called as the digestive fire. And it is here that the Manipura lies, and Udyana Bandha and Nauli are the practices, churning practices which Ramdev Baba does. All those practices are actually to activate the Manipura chakra. We all know that we release hydrochloric acid there, and it is fire in a way that it can really digest anything that is kept, including a bone inside that acid. And the protective layer of the GI tract has a lot of mucus, mucosal lining, which protects against this fire. But this fire is very vital to kill the bacteria, to enhance the immunity, to digest and assimilate the food. And that is the function of the prana, which is known as the samana prana. And samana prana activation is Manipura chakra activation. So it is not something, completely imaginary. You can beautifully correlate, and you see how beautifully the elements also become subtle and subtle, from the earth to water, and from water you come down to the fire. You can actually feel in your body. You need not, even if the subtle instruments are not there to catch it, if you are really meditative, you can feel this in your body, that whatever is heavy goes down, whatever is light goes up. And then you have the Anahata chakra, the center for emotions, which lies there, right there, just below the sternum, in the center of the chest. This particular chakra is denoted by the sound yam, and ram was the sound for Manipura. It would be very interesting whether chanting these sounds can enhance the physiological functions in those particular regions of the body or those life processes. So here, in the Anahata chakra, Vayu and the Akasha, these two elements start coming up. We all know that lungs lie in the Anahata region. All the breath exchange of the air takes place in the chest region. And whenever you are filled with different kind of emotions, the movement of the air either becomes more or less. So therefore it is completely logical to understand that lungs being there in the chest region, the Anahata predominantly represents the Vayu component. Correct? It has 12 petals, and the sound for Anahata is yam. Now, if there is improper flow of prana or excessive flow of prana in this particular area, you may become breathless, you may develop asthmatic attack. Now, so what is the underlying yoga therapy understanding? I am going to share next with you. Also, the heart, very important aspect is heart lies in this particular region. And as Surya was saying, that it is very much connected to the sense of emotion. The way you express your emotions very strongly attaches to this chakra. If you are open and more expressive, this chakra can express itself. But if you are not expressive, this chakra can close down. In fact, there have been correlations of correlative studies that show that type A personalities actually are not very expressive about their emotions, and these are the people more prone for heart diseases and hypertension. In the same way, it is both Anahata and Vishuddhi carry the air and the space elements. So Vishuddhi is the chakra on the throat region, and here we see that the Jalandhar Bandha, Viparit Karni, and these are the practices. Hum is the sound that produces vibration in the Vishuddhi chakra. Vishuddhi, by its literal meaning, means purification. Whatever that a person speaks is enlightening. It produces light. It clarifies things, and speech has the power, of bringing purity or cleansing of the deeper aspect of the existence, including clarity of the mind. If you listen to satsang, you can purify or clarify your thoughts. Also, important aspect with Vishuddhi chakra is that in this particular region, all the sound that you produce, the vibrations are maximum, and that vibratory effect of the sound is also very much evident in the Vishuddhi chakra. And we know that air is required for the vibrations to move. Without the air element, the vibration cannot go, the rarefaction and those waves of the sound. So air elements resonates nicely, and through those resonation of the mantras that are chanted using the Vishuddhi chakra, also the purification happens throughout the body and in the nadis. That is why this is known as the Vishuddhi element. It is also the expression of one's creativity, that people say the higher order functions of the existence of the human being, whereas the lower chakras are more connected to the basic survival. And then comes the Ajna chakra. It is even the subtler element, the transcendental element, where you transcend the dualities of life or go beyond the Pancha Mahabhutas, and then try to go into the Manomaya Kosha, or the deeper consciousness, or the understanding of this universe, the very thought through which the universe has been created. You can attune yourself to those deeper levels of the creation. And Shambhavi Mudra, Om chanting, Trataka, these are various practices, Nadi Shuddhi Pranayama, to balance the Ajna chakra. Also, all the chakras and all the nadis in the body culminate in Ajna chakra. So therefore, Ajna chakra carries very specific significance in yoga philosophy. According to modern medical science also, we know that the hypothalamus, the pituitary, their anatomical location is exactly, in the same region in the midbrain area. If you, really dissect, then very vital endocrine organs of the body, which are known as the master glands of the body, are located in this point or this plane in the anatomical body. Hypothalamus, we know, regulates respiration. It regulates, the body temperature, the hunger. Various important functions in the body are governed by hypothalamus, and brainstem is the adjoint area which has the center for respiration and also the cardiac activity. So therefore, very vital regions which govern the whole body are located here. Pituitary is the gland which releases hormones, which actually then activate all the other glands, the endocrine glands in the body later on. So in that way, the Ajna chakra becomes very important. Sahasrara has 1,000 petals, and it is a multi-dimensional chakra, and it is the chakra that has been, in yogic realm, they say that if your Sahasrara chakra is activated, then you have reached the state of enlightenment. You would have seen certain movies like Lucy, where scientists have shown that we are actually using only 1% of our whole brain. And if you are able to use 90% or 100% of your brain, then you will have several kind of manifestations, which are, a power of perception, a power of understanding, a power of assimilation of information that may be huge. You can even go beyond the most advanced supercomputer. That much is the power of the brain. And in that way, if you understand Sahasrara, the petals that are there are nothing but the rugi in your cerebral cortex, and you using 100% of your brain is like activating the Sahasrara chakra, then that really makes a sense here. So in a way, dear friends, being a doctor, I do not want to spread misinformation, but I can clearly see a logic that is there in this kind of understanding. Of course, in those days, these terminologies were not there, and they explained what they experienced in their own ways, in their own way, in which it could be understood by masses easily. And that is how this concept of Sapta Chakras has come up. We also see that, these chakras that govern the body are connected to certain core ideas or emotions. In fact, very easily we can understand this. A particular kind of thought can actually activate or deactivate a particular physiological process. For example, if I have erotic kind of thought or I see erotic images, there is more blood flow into my Muladhara, So a thought in the mind is actually able to activate my Muladhara chakra and increase the blood flow to my sexual organs. In the same way, when one sees a food, and one is hungry, or somebody talks about food, your stomach releases gastric juices. So a thought or imagination of food is actually able to activate my Manipura chakra. When you see a loved one, especially if there has been an emotional turmoil that is going on, or a person that you had been missing for a long time and you had not been talking to him, and suddenly that person comes in front of you or you see him, you develop palpitations. You feel actually a constricting and expanding kind of a sensation in your heart. It is here that the anahata resonates, anahata vibrates. In the same way, very deep contemplation, very deep understanding, if required into certain issue, naturally the eyebrows shrink and the attention naturally wants to come here. And these are certain processes, that happen if you have very intense intellectual activity, or you are processing the information too fast into your brain, governed with lot of emotion or anger. You actually see the pranic energy hitting your head, and after that you feel very heavy in your head. You feel, oh my god, after this anger my head is bursting, because there has been a surge of prana into this particular chakra. And so what I mean to say is, a lot of intellectual activity gets into the head, emotional activity comes here, then basic survival of digesting the food, and then the sexual activity goes into the lower chakra. And that is how the thought processes can be, connected to these chakras. How do you apply this in yoga therapy? Very simple logic is that in essence, chakra carries prana or life energy. What is the function of life? Wherever the life goes, the functioning increases, the sensitivity increases. Life is all about being sensitive. The more alive you are, the more sensitive you feel, But the sensitivity also can become a problem if you become hypersensitive. Why does a person become hypersensitivity? One would always feel, okay, then you should be more and more lively, then more and more prana should flow, But if prana gets locked up into a particular area and doesn't move to other parts of the body, then that part becomes oversensitive. That also crosses the homeostatic range, and that creates a problem. Overactivity of particular chakra, due to overactivity of those emotions in manomaya kosha, leads to increased sensitivity and functioning of that particular life process. For example, if I have been suppressing my emotions a lot, or I'm actually an emotionally charged personality, but I have not been able to express my emotions in the way they are required, then what will happen? My anahata chakra will become oversensitive. All of my prana that gets into the anahata chakra will not find a free flow either upward or downward. It will start getting locked up there. Then my whole this anahata or the chest region, the vayu component here will become hypersensitive. And then even, a innocuous stimuli like a pollen grain or a cool air will bring cough to me, and I will slowly develop asthma. Or it can also accelerate the process of atherosclerosis in my heart region. So we understand that either there can be a blockage in the chakra where the prana is not able to flow to a particular part of the body, or there can be an overflow of prana in the chakra, increasing hypersensitivity. In fact, in the same person, prana may not flow much into the heart but flow excessively into the bronchus, and that imbalance of prana can cause atherosclerosis when it is not flowing or blocking the channel, whereas making the channel hypersensitive when it is overflowing. In the same way, underactivity of a particular chakra leads to reduced sensitivity and functioning of that particular part of the body, and also the blockages in the channels. For example, stroke, half of the body doesn't get the prana flow properly. So you see, you touch, you don't feel any touch. You want to move, you cannot move. The prana simply doesn't move in paralysis. It just gets into one side. So the imbalance can happen in this way. Imbalance can happen if the prana doesn't flow properly. It can develop stones, it can develop obstructions. All those are manifestation of underactivity of the prana. Hypersensitivity is the manifestation of overactivity of the prana. All autoimmune diseases are in a way hypersensitive, improperly moving prana. The prana is moving in the channels it should not move. The vyana prana that goes throughout the body also can become hypersensitivity, leading to whole body atopy or allergic reactions. Now, if a yoga therapist looks at the physical body, he also tries to understand what are the imbalances there in the subtle body, because he's going to use the pranayama, different kind of bandhas, mudras, asanas to balance the prana. And it is here that this simple law works. Like the physical energy, pranic energy also can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can only be transformed or channelized from one form to another. So if I develop headache, my whole prana accumulates in my head region. I am not going to destroy this prana or block it. What I am going to do is simply channelize this prana downward. And the beauty is yoga understand that this prana is connected to mind, because Prashna Upanishad says, Chale Prashna Upanishad says, wherever the mind goes, the prana goes. And Hatha Yoga Pratipika says, Chale vate, chale chittam, nischale nischalam bhavet. If the mind moves, prana moves. If the mind stops, prana stops. And prana is also connected to the breath. So therefore, in yoga therapy, we tell a person who has headache to actually perform asanas which activate the Muladhara, or to go for a walk where your awareness is on the feet, or you perform asanas where you are performing rotation of the legs, so that your prana moves from the head region to the feet region and you feel little light. In fact, any pain, any heaviness that is there is actually excess flow of prana. And dynamically, the prana being three-dimensional everywhere in the body, different kind of thinking processes, different kind of actions, different kind of, it is two-way effect. Prana is affected by your diet also, prana is affected by your mind also. And if you adopt a faulty lifestyle for a long time, then prana actually develops a default flow, a wrong flow. For example, if somebody, has chronic constipation, it means the prana is not moving in that particular part of the body for a long time. Then one would observe that there will be imbalance in that particular part of the GI tract, and that has to be corrected not only by simply taking laxatives, but you also have to work on the mental processes which are bringing constipation. So yoga tries to understand that. Yoga also tries to balance the prana throughout the body and bring the balance through pranayamas as well. So meditation, that is how meditation helps even in relieving such problems which are directly not connected to that aspect of meditation. Here you can correlate the chakra to Maslow's hierarchy. In fact, I read somewhere that Maslow got this idea inspired by the chakra concept in yoga. So the lower chakras are about physiological needs, safety and security. The middle chakras, are about the social needs. Higher chakra go to self-esteem, confidence, achievement. And then comes the aspect of helping the society, guiding the society, self-actualization, creativity, expression. So this is how human beings evolves in life, and that is how he transcends one chakra to another. So all of us, maybe living our life predominantly in one layer of emotion. If your whole life is only for survival, then that is animalistic kind of a behavior. There are human beings like that. So we can say that they are still stuck in Muladhara and Swadhisthana. Otherwise, if the whole life is only focused on earning money, that is nothing but food, then you are completely focused on Manipura. That is the only objective of life. Whereas when higher functions like social need, friendship, family, love start playing a role, then the anahata component comes up. Then expressing your own true creative self, and self-esteem, Vishuddhi comes up. And then helping the society, contributing more and more, and allowing your complete potential to manifest itself, the Sahasrara and Ajna Chakra domain come up. So this is how the Kundalini, rises, and we have these two channels, Ida and Pingala, sun and moon, where all the pranic channels merge, and where they meet, that is where the chakras are formed. But the whole objective is to transcend them by channelizing the energy through the central nadi, which is known as the Sushumna. It simply means that you should not get caught by the forces of duality in life in all these aspects of emotions, and remain steady. Samatvam yoga uchyate. And that is how you can transcend them. And it is here that pranayama also helps, and it becomes an indicator of how balanced you are. So there are various, patients who come to us who have been practicing certain Kundalini yoga, looking at YouTube, and develop a lot of problems. So what I would recommend, people here is that yogic texts are very strict about following certain rules. The diet has to be very pure, shatkarmas have to be done regularly, and there should be a guru who is actually a practitioner of Kundalini and for years together. In fact, one of the recommendation from ancient text is 12 years of following of yamas and niyamas. So it is very, very difficult to follow this in current times. Especially our food is, no matter how organic you eat, it is always adulterated, and that is why developing that level of purity of the pranic channels is very, very difficult. Hatha Yoga Pradipika says, while the prana does not flow in the middle passage of Sushumna and the mind is not steadied, then all meditation that you do is not a true meditation. If you are achieving samatvam of the prana, balance of the chakras, then only you are doing a true meditation. It also warns against the shortcuts that people take to perform these complex yogic practices. Just as lions, elephant, tigers are controlled slowly and slowly, so the breath is controlled. Otherwise, it kills the practitioner himself. So, Hatha Yoga Pradipika actually says that if performed properly, these practices can accelerate your evolution, but if performed improperly, actually wrong practices can generate diseases and it can destroy the practitioner. Therefore, my appeal to all of you is, please do not take any shortcuts. Do not look at YouTube and perform complex yogic practices. Only perform practices which are recommended by trained therapists who have learned, yoga from properly recognized degrees, people who have at least done a master's degree in yoga therapy. You should perform, and whatever practices that we teach you, they are the safe practices where you can take maximum benefit from the practices. At the same time, there is no risk, of developing these kind of severe side effects. So Kundalini awakening, the process that takes place naturally also, even if the channels are purified, also has been called as psycho Kundalini syndrome, because there are transient psychosis kind of conditions. People have experienced that, but Hansen et al. Have also reported that if these are allowed to progress, people then gain balance. But I am telling you that all these kind of processes which are documented are done under very strict guidance of yogis in Himalayas. They follow yama niyama for years together there, eat very restricted diet. Then only they become eligible for all these processes. Living in worldly life today, here in the current world, I would suggest that one should not attempt these kind of practices and use yoga only for the benefits that yoga has on improving your well-being at the level of your body, your functioning of various organs in the body, and enhancing your cognition and mental peace. Otherwise, it is better to go with the practices of bhakti or jnana, which are much more safer than the Raj Yoga or Hatha Yoga practices, which carry lot of risk. So when a person is spiritually awakened, what are the signs? Bhagavad Gita and Patanjali Yoga Sutra say that they transcend the forces of duality. That is the foremost sign. The self dissolves and they start living life more for others. If your compassion is increasing, if your love is increasing for everybody, you are becoming more and more humble, you are growing. If your sense of I-ness, I am becoming a big yogi, I have conquered my emotions, I have conquered my anger, then you are not on the right path. Compassion is one single most important factor of growth on the path of yoga or spiritual awakening. In the same way, some people experience change of mood, but with that, there is also a sense of newly gained knowledge, and the diminishing of the sense of doership and surrender to the higher force increases. And there is steadiness of the awareness, decisions are always in the welfare of the society, and there is no boasting of one's superpowers, or one never praises oneself when one is really on the path of yoga. So one should be inspired by such yogis who have actually mastered, these kind of forces by performing practices strictly under the guidance of a guru and through bhakti and jnana based approaches. I wish and pray that all the people who are there in the meeting watching this video grow on the path of yoga using very authentic ways and do not take any shortcuts. So thank you very much. Namaste.
Amen. Now what do we do?